Well, the Food and Drug Administration now has power to regulate tobacco products after President Obama signed landmark legislation yesterday. One anti-smoking advocate says the passage of the bill marks the diminished clout of the tobacco lobby on the Hill. Joining us right now is the man who said it, Patrick Reynolds. He's executive director of antismoking.org and happens to be the grandson of tobacco company founder R.J. Reynolds. Patrick, good to see you this morning. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be on board. It's a great day for public health, for the health of our kids. Finally, we have regulation, FDA regulation of a dangerous product, tobacco.
So let's talk a little bit about what this bill has done. You are a big advocate. You feel in some respects that it falls a little bit short. What do you like about what this legislation will do?
Where it wins, 99% fantastic, 1% maybe falls short, or even does too much. But where it wins, we've got 50% graphic warning labels on the front and the back of cigarette packages. These are going to be a powerful deterrent to kids thinking about whether they're going to smoke or not, and a strong incentive for smokers to quit. Looking at pictures of diseased lungs on the front and back of the cigarette packs. We're going to ban candy flavorings like vanilla and so on that appeal to kids, coffee flavorings. The bill is going to limit advertising at point of sale to black and white, tombstone advertising. There's so much in the bill that it's going to allow them to reduce nicotine levels, but not eliminate them. Philip Morris did author part of the bill. But the point here is that, on the whole, this is a great piece of legislation which we have fought for, and Congress has sidelined it for 11 years. I mean, powerful lobbyists on the Hill, a generous campaign contribution by the tobacco industry, well-connected lawmakers, the seniority of lawmakers like Jesse Helms. All of those things for 11 years got this bill sidelined and killed in committee. And finally, now that we have a Democratic Congress and Obama in power, this bill has passed.
A lot of people are wondering, Patrick, how you, the grandson of the founder of R.J. Reynolds, why it is that you are in such great support of this, why you've been such an advocate for the past decade. Tell people why.
It's a personal story. My only members of my father, R.J. Reynolds Jr., son of the founder, are the man who was gasping for breath. My dad was dying from smoking. When I spoke out in Congress in 1986 for the first time publicly, and I was catapulted into the headlines, tobacco family member says smoking's not good for you and the industry's up to no good. Well, I really was catapulted into the headlines, and I realized I could make a difference on this issue, campaigning for cigarette tax increases. And as I worked on those political campaigns in the 80s and 90s, I realized how angry I was about the tobacco industry and what they'd been doing all those years, lying to the public and targeting kids in their advertising, as it later came out. And I knew that I could make a difference on this issue. Now I'm planning to go to China and India and Russia, and I just came back from Greece, where I was invited by the health minister and got covered by all the major Greek newspapers and news media. The TV networks were profiling me, and I want to go do that in China and in India and in Russia. So Patrick, I am just thrilled about the opportunity to make a difference.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled that you've had such success after all these years. But you and I both know there are still some loopholes, and some of that is things like the e-cigarette. I mean, let's talk about that issue, because that's just one among many. What concerns you specifically about the e-cigarette?
Well, I happen to like the e-cigarette. I don't know that it's completely safe, and that's why the FDA is going to err on the side of caution, possibly remove these e-cigarettes from the market. It's a little electronic cigarette that emits smoke that looks just like cigarette smoke. It's a mixture of propylene glycol and water through an atomizer. But I think that when I quit smoking, and I quit, Lord knows, 11 times, having a cigarette substitute, watching the smoke was half the pleasure of smoking, being able to watch the smoke. If you're a smoker out there, try keeping your eyes closed and smoking without seeing the smoke, and you'll find that it really is not very enjoyable. So the visual of watching the smoke through the e-cigarette, I think, is a powerful aid in quitting smoking, and the FDA may be taking them off the market until they're proven safe, and that may take many years. In Europe, I believe they're still going to continue to sell them. There's a school in the tobacco control movement called the harm reduction school, and these people are saying, well, If it's less harmful than smoking, and certainly the propylene glycol in water may be less harmful than all the ingredients in tobacco smoke, then maybe we should leave it on the market as a way for people to quit smoking. But right now, the FDA will prohibit you from claiming that these are a quit smoking aid, and I think they clearly are.
You know,
I like the e-cigarette, but there's so much good in the bill that it's fine.
You know, what do you believe is the next step toward a free smoking society? Because I know you're going to travel overseas, and if you travel to a lot of places overseas in Europe, there's a lot of smoking still going on.
Well, as I did in Greece in April, I'd like to meet with the health minister publicly and discuss what really works what's been proven to work to reduce smoking rates. And we know that if you have a strong smoking law prohibiting smoking in bars and restaurants where young people congregate, and if you have a high cigarette tax as you do in New York City, and you spend a little money on tobacco prevention education, I got the CDC's reel of tobacco spots over to Greece for them, and I believe they dubbed them in Greek, and they've got them on the air now. So when you educate the public through the media, and you have a strong smoking ban, and you have a high cigarette tax, why in New York they've reduced the youth smoking rate down to 8.5%. So
right.
These three things taken together work, and that's what I'd like to discuss publicly with health ministers in China and Russia and India, without embarrassing them, of course. If I get the State Department helping me, we'll work out an agenda in advance for public discussion.
Well,
but in private, I'm certainly going to be saying those things to them.
Well, Patrick Reynolds, Executive Director of antismoking.org, continue to fight the fight, and congratulations on this small victory.